path-breaking design for AGI. Part 2. Consciousness. Computational consciousness is a difficult and sensitive topic, requiring circumspect exploration without prejudice. However, our objective here is limited and straightforward. We wish to synthesize features of it essential to enable subjective experiences. Awareness and subjective experiences are the consequences of the consciousness we are attempting to synthesize. Perhaps the best place to start will be the exploration of the reasons why we are so unaware of our awareness. The mystery behind consciousness. In the first part of the series of videos, I discussed the need for the representation of both subjective and objective elements. Furthermore, subjective representations must come first to make sense of objects and the problems they solve. Given that the representations must have begun with subjective elements, we should have had to possess some special objects to perform that task. We now ask ourselves the question, can these objects be represented? No, because the mechanism that produces all other subjective experiences cannot itself be experienced. Therefore, it cannot be represented, and must remain mysterious. This explains the reason why we find consciousness so intriguing. Defective consciousness. The manner in which impaired consciousness could affect our subjective experiences might give us the clues to understand consciousness better. However, it would be more informative to consider minor impairments rather than more serious conditions like coma or the vegetative state. For example, there are several delusional and confused states that make subjectivity unreliable, and functioning impossible. Given that our primary purpose in creating consciousness is to enable subjective experiences, it helps avoid the above conditions. Therefore, clarity on the kind of things that we need to avoid, and understanding the reason why confusion might arise, is important. External confusion. This kind of thing can happen in several situations when you find yourself totally lost in terms of the context or substance. For example, you wake up in the morning with a hangover, unaware of where you are or how you got there. You look at an abstract painting crafted to distract and deceive. The closer you look, the greater the confusion. You are totally out of your depth in the lecture you chose to attend on quantum mechanics. These cases of confusion are the actual consequence of consciousness. Furthermore, subjective learning is possible in such situations. Internal confusion. There are several sensors in our body, including those for touch, position, and direction, apart from vision. What if these do not agree? What if the visual cues that you are raising your arm is contradicted by your position and direction sensors? Which sensor will you believe? What if the visual cues and other sensory inputs reach you with significant random delays? Can you function effectively? Considering the fact that different systems may require periodic calibration, things going out of sync is not unexpected, and therefore, we must possess a mechanism to resync the sensors that drift. Furthermore, we may also infer that this mechanism must play a crucial role in synthesizing consciousness. Resolving internal conflicts. Imagine having 3 backups of your data, and they do not agree with one another. What would you do? You would normally have a policy for such situations. Use the most recent, or most trustworthy, or something similar. No matter what rule you follow, the policy allows you to proceed with a response and deal with the consequences later. This kind of a pragmatic mechanism is essential to handle contingencies. The conflict need not be between sensory information alone. Both subjective and objective elements may partake in conflicts. Whatever is the nature of the internal conflict, leaving it unresolved will only exacerbate the problem, and cannot be permitted. Storyboarding for consciousness. Storyboarding is another important element of subjective experience to be able to predict changes into the future involving dynamic elements. Therefore, the mechanism of computed consciousness should have the following features to produce awareness. 1. Compute and synchronize the sensory outputs. 2. Add relevant subjective and objective elements into the processing. 3. Build a storyboard to predict the dynamic aspects of the scene. 4. Resolve conflicts to make them corroborate one another's output. Corroboration gives meaning that would be missing otherwise. Furthermore, if the outputs cannot be reconciled, confusion would result. Computed consciousness, a milestone on the path to AGI. The importance of reaching this milestone on the path to AGI cannot be overemphasized. Therefore, the testing of this needs to be done early. In the book I discuss consciousness with different examples, and the concept of storyboarding is introduced much later. However, aspects of consciousness will be discussed in various chapters. The explanation of dreams are discussed alongside the treatment of the same in the Mandukya Upanishad. However, the most consequential conclusion I wish to convey here is that, using the methods described, an effect akin to awareness may be created. Thank you for your interest.